Crime pays, as they say these days. I would know. I make bank off this shit. Breaking into houses, stealing TVs. I'm a creature of the night. I know every fence in town. Got a close relationship with every streetwalker out there. Taking them from the street corner to the motel room. You know they gotta pressure wash that shit after we're done with it. I don't need protection. I ain't afraid of no microbes. My medical report full of acronyms. At urgent care, they call me Steven Tyler Daniel. I don't need to pay for the medication either. I got every nurse's number on my phone and trade product with every doctor. My enterprise is growing, but I don't forget my roots. I got enough money to buy any sports car and I still boost those bitches. No license for cars or guns, cause the cops know not to fuck with me. I own this town, back alleys and all. You wanna sell shoes? Do business with me if you wanna keep the windows unbroken. You wanna sell drugs? Do business with me if you wanna keep your back unbroken. Cars, guns, women, I got it all. I'm richer than Bezos. Just goes to show that these days, it's true what they say. I'm going to be sued by the guys who did Dracula Flow. Anyway, it's time for some disclosure. I was recently contacted by a developer named Moonlight Productions who offered me a free key of their game, Crime Pays, in exchange for feedback and making a video on it. As I am a sellout, I accepted. However, I'm going to be honest in what I think about this game. So what is Crime Pays? It's a top-down open-world crime adventure where you engage in a variety of illicit activities with the goal of generating enough capital to achieve the American dream of purchasing a house that is 65% more expensive than it was in 2006 and that you will be forced to foreclose on when you inevitably are unable to pay the mortgage because you got laid off from your IT job that overhired during COVID. In order to garner the greenbacks necessary to make this life-ruining transaction, there are many things you can do. Break into houses and clean them out of their belongings. The occupants actually don't mind when you do this most of the time. Hack people's bank accounts, do odd jobs for people, and I think that's it actually. The setting of the game is Crime Paysville, a bustling metropolis consisting of a single block with an affluent upper-class neighborhood at the top of the map and a strip mall at the bottom. This is the sandbox in which you do your dirty deeds, but you have to be careful as the town is home to the most aggressive fucking police force in all of America. The local businesses include a gun store that is a parody of BuzzFeed. I'm not sure I see the relation. A pizza place that also sells drugs, a restaurant, a mall with a bunch of empty stores, and a casino that I didn't waste any time at because gambling is a sin and I don't do that. Also check this out, we got day-night cycles. One of the first gameplay mechanics that I became acquainted with was the lockpicking system. It's actually pretty cool. You have to listen for certain noises that indicate if you're doing it right. It almost feels like actually picking a lock. The only problem is that you have to listen for audio indicators, which is complicated by the fact that the SFX is drowned out by the game's blaring soundtrack. The manual recommends that you turn off the music whenever you start lockpicking, which is goofy, to say the least. The lockpicking on the safes is confusing as all hell. It's never really clear, at least it wasn't to me, when you're doing things right, so I just kinda spun the shit around at random until I guess the game took pity on me and let me in. While there's no main quest, at least none that I could find, there's a variety of side quests that you can undertake in order to make some moolah. The first one I got was fairly simple. This guy's pissed off at his neighbor for playing his music too loud at night, so he wants you to go break his radio. That was easy enough. There's this homeless gambling addict who teaches you how to pick locks in exchange for giving him shitloads of money. That seems kind of pointless when the manual tells you how to do that, but okay, that's done now. Probably the most in-depth one, and the only one that resembles an actual quest line, is this series of jobs that you take delivering pizzas for the Little Caesars. These jobs are easy enough, except for the one where you have to deliver to the police station because the cops kept shooting at me for some reason. I found this weird because when I did deliveries for Chick-fil-A, the police station was probably the only time I didn't get shot at. Another quest has you getting burgers for this guy who also wants you to steal a TV and game console for him. This just drains your money and he never gives you anything for it, so I don't really understand what the point of this was either. Other than quests, you can also gain money by stealing stuff from the 4 houses in the game world and selling it to this guy at the bottom of the map. One thing about this game is that, as what I'm assuming is a one-man project, they only had so many resources to actually make the thing, so it has some bugs. Case in point, I got this thing where every time I entered or exited an interior, whatever the last object I picked up was would respawn in my hands, so I could just cheese money by continuously selling whatever was materializing in my arms. There's also a system where you can use a computer to steal people's identities and clean out their bank accounts. I could never figure out how to get this to work, but there's footage of it in the trailer, and it looks pretty fun. The last quest that I found was from this shady guy who gives me a job to find him a ring, which I couldn't for the life of me find anywhere in the game. As there's no walkthroughs for this game on the internet, I couldn't find any indicators of where it might be, so I assumed that it's just something that's supposed to spawn in safes and I was just shit out of luck. At this point, I figured I had exhausted most of what there was to do in the game, and I called it there. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I may have essentially agreed to do an advertisement for this game, but I'm not gonna lie to your face. This game is really rough around the edges. There's not a whole lot to do, it's filled to the brim with gameplay mechanics that don't really have much depth to them, and it's got a fair few bugs and glitches that severely hinder the experience. If I were a critic, I probably wouldn't give this game a very high score. None of this is to keep shit on the developer though. I don't know anything about him, but based on the quality of this and his one other game, a platformer called Kitten Kingdom, plus the voice in the trailer for said game sounding very young, I'm going to assume that he's an early adult with not really any experience in game development. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think he's incompetent, just inexperienced. Whenever you first start out pursuing any endeavor, you fuck it up, you make mistakes, and you put out something that 5 to 10 years down the line you're probably going to be embarrassed of. I know that's been my experience anyway. Take my earlier YouTube videos, which consisted of poorly edited mod reviews that I did before I was even old enough to drink, and some low-effort stream highlights from my brief stint on Twitch last year. I think my output has improved considerably since then, but I still have a lot to learn, and I'm sure that years later I'll probably find the quality of this video less than satisfactory as well. I'm not making this video to shame a garbage developer and tell him that he's a dumb fuck. I'm making it because A, he asked me to, and B, I'm hoping that this, combined with the feedback I gave him in an email, will be helpful to him in the future. Oh, and see, I have an upload schedule that I need to stick to. We all have to start somewhere, and I want this guy to keep making games, as he clearly has ambition. There's a surprising amount of features and gameplay mechanics in Crime Pays, which I think is the main problem with it. I think in the future what would help the developer is if he focused on one specific gameplay feature instead of several, and did everything he could to refine it and make it as fun as possible. The hacking minigame would be a promising avenue for that in my opinion. Ultimately, I hope more than anything that this comes across as supportive. If you want to support a new developer, you can get the game for $5 on Steam, so it's not a bank breaker. If you don't want to do that, that's fine too, of course. I get that this video wasn't exactly a glowing review. All in all, Crime Pays is a simple, very Flash game-esque experiment from a new developer trying to find his footing. While I don't think it really lands, I appreciate the ambition that's on display here, and I really hope that he continues to refine his skills at game development and eventually puts out an absolute banger. Hey everybody, if you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thanks. It means a whole lot. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all your standard YouTube outro stuff that you always hear. And other than that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.